team from Rocket who are building a Perp DEX plus a Perp DEX chain that is evolving on the by now well-known CLOB model. How are you guys doing? And maybe could you give a brief introduction to your team?
Yeah, thanks so much, Max. So my name's Arnold. Basically worked in finance for about 7 years. Worked at a digital asset exchange for about 3 years, and that's where myself and Kirk actually met. Gareth and myself mates for been mates for a few years, and he's kind of one of the early DeFi dabblers, if I had to say. And that's kind of, we all got together. We're all based in Bermuda, so it's nice, and it's nice small environment where we can all quickly get to see each other.
Yeah, so I'm Gareth. Also finance background, been similar time to Arnold, 7-8 years in derivatives, finance, hedge fund. That's kind of my background. Met Arnold, introduced me to Kirk. I've been dabbling in DeFi since early Uniswap days, and yield hunting, doing all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of my background.
Very nice. So how did the idea of Rocket come to be? Like, what lack of features, what lack of technology did you see in the Perp DEX landscape? And what gave you the confidence, so to say, to start building it? Because I would say that over the past 18 months, it has gotten quite competitive over there with the rise of Hyperliquid, Lighter, and all the Perp DEXs that have farming campaigns going on right now.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think the idea came from, there's a fourth founder, a big market maker that actually mainly is on Deribit. He's an ex-head trader at one of the big market maker firms. He moved to Bermuda about 3 years ago, and he's been seeing market makers getting more competitive against him. So the idea actually came, we were going to start an options platform. But to begin the options platform, we had to have perps because he needs perps to hedge, same as Deribit. So that's kind of how the idea began. He then came to us and said the current model of execution is not ideal. It promotes high frequency trading. He's like, I have this idea. I've kind of mapped it up, micro auctions. And then we introduced him to Kirk. We were like, well, we're just finance guys. We can't build that for you. And we asked Kirk, is this something you could build?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm Kirk. I worked at the hedge fund with Arnold, and I was a software engineer, worked on the quant team for a bit. And these guys basically came to me with this crazy idea to take over an already competitive market. And I said, let's do it. So
yeah, honestly, I told the guys the only guy that could pull this off is Kirk, and it just happened. He also finished a few months after me at the hedge fund, and then we kind of just got together for coffee, went through it, and then we all agreed, like, it's just the right time.
Yeah, I think the decision became, so Kirk started about March last year, just building in the actual chain and building in the execution. Obviously, there's quite a bit of work that went into that before we could actually, produce a new product. We then came to the realization that options is complicated, and, let's get the Perp platform out. Let's get some tools and trading first, and then, introduce the options a couple of months or, a few months after that.
Yeah.
So from the perspective of, let's say, a regular user of Perp DEXs, but not a professional market maker and also not super deep in the tech stack, how would you explain to such a user what differentiates you and what currently limits the existing Perp DEXs?
Yeah, so Max, we saw a massive issue in the current market architecture. So if you look at the current CLOB model, it's kind of completely broken, right? You look at these people fighting over nanoseconds, microwave tiles going up. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, people are spending billions to obviously make billions, but it's just negative flow. It's killing every regular trader. Is just getting killed out there by these HFT firms. And we honestly, we don't like that. Like, blockchains were made to democratize markets, and that's kind of where we got into the idea of block-based micro auctions, where kind of, you know, all trades, like at that certain point in time, go into an auction, they execute at the same price. You know, sellers are getting better prices, buyers are getting lower prices. It is honestly, the trader wins, not necessarily the market maker or the HFT firms. It's completely like HFT resistant. There's no MEV, no transaction reordering, because every auction is a block as well. And if you think about it, like, it just makes sense. This is the architecture that blockchain was supposed to have, because you've already got consensus on transactions. Now all we're adding is a dimension of consensus on price as well. And this is honestly, I think this is the big thing that traders are missing. They're getting scalped by these HFT firms. And what this even gets, like, it gets even worse, right? So now take a look at some of the other Perp DEXs. They move the CLOB model on chain now. So now there's transaction reordering. This just amplifies the problem. So I mean, like, Hyperliquid and those guys, they've figured it out. Like, they've seen, okay, the scalping is getting pretty bad, so they're prioritizing cancels over ads and stuff. But like, people are trying speed bumps, and it just doesn't work, right? Where micro auctions is just, it's the architecture that should have always been on chain. And honestly, I can't wait for traders to actually see how much they save if they don't get scalped by this negative flow, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a good point. As you know, a user of a lot of these Perp platforms, do I care how the execution happens? No, but if there is a way to display the savings that I'm having using micro auctions versus other Perp platforms, that's something we've been talking about. Kirk was testing that out the other day. He put in a trade at a certain price, and it actually executed at slightly better, 5 bips better, just because of the micro auction. So something we're looking at to, like, illustrate to end users, this is actually the saving, this is why it's better. So we're trying to introduce that. I mean, I guess that's our philosophy as well. We've introduced the funding ARB tool as well. We're trying to make it as user-friendly and as easy to do, complex transactions all within our platform without having to go to third parties, connecting wallets. So we're trying to introduce small things like that to add value to the end user.
To go a little deeper into the technicality of it, could you explain that to a regular user? How does the method, like, how do these HFT firms currently scalp a certain spread out of the regular user on a traditional CLOB DEX? And how technically does a block auction work so that this doesn't happen?
Yeah. So if you want to put it simply, let's say you have a limit order at $100. The market makers and HFT firms are only really going to fill you when it's beneficial to them. So when the true fair price that they decide in their internal system is at like $99, only then will they fill your 100 and they'll keep the dollar for themselves. So to go into how the micro auctions work, let's put up the same system. You have a limit order at 100 and the fair price moves down to 99. They put an order in at 99. Everyone within that block gets filled at 99.5.
Yeah.
So the TLDR of the block-based micro auction is that you basically just split the difference in half.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
and in that, there's no way for front running to occur. Transaction reordering isn't a thing. You can reorder the transactions and everything still works out the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're kind of moving the game from speed to price and size. And the thing is, this is one of the big things, right? Market makers get picked off as well, like, because they can't really quote size. That's why you have the need in traditional markets for dark pools. They can't really quote size because they get picked off if there's any adverse or like any quick movements. HFT firms just jump in. And that's kind of what we are just stopping. Like, actually anyone can quote. Market makers come in and quote at any like tight spreads, massive size, and they can't get picked off. So it's not only beneficial to traders, like market makers will also have tremendous value here. Like the HFT firms, yes, there won't be any benefit to them, but I mean, at least it's the whole market is kind of treated fairly.
How does the transaction ordering within a block work? Maybe also in comparison to like well-known consensus systems like the POS of Ethereum and some other examples you can draw of.
Yeah. So basically, in Hyperliquid, the way that it works is the transactions all get fit into a block, and the sequencer produces a block, broadcasts it out to all the validators. They all process the block in order of the transactions in a FIFO sort of regular CLOB way. So the first market order, let's say it's a market order first. The limit orders that are already present in the book, he will take the first pick of the price, and so on and so forth. A limit order might be after him that replaces that or not, and then the next person might get a worse price, etc. So what the difference is no matter the order, everyone essentially gets put in to an auction, and where the volume gets maximized, everyone trades at that price. And so market orders can even cancel each other and match at mid, instead of both filling at worse prices.
So the bottom line for a market maker, is that likely going to be worse when trading on Rocket, or do they just siphon off profits in a different manner than on traditional CLOB DEXs?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So you would think that the market maker now has worse edge because they won't fill as much, because, like, for example, the two market orders might fill each other. But at the end of the day, what the market maker wants is to be able to set their spread and not get toxic flow. So if you've ever sort of been in a system where people are market making, the one thing that they're really worried about is making sure that they have good alpha, good latency, so that they don't have to get picked off, basically, and lose money to people who are faster than them, and it becomes a speed race. So in this system where we have 100 millisecond to 200 millisecond blocks, as long as they can react within that, which is a very long time for these systems, they can quote extremely tight for the retail traders and earn their volume, earn spread on their volume all the time. And then basically, as long as their system can react within the allotted time, not have to take the loss of an HFT coming in and scalping them. So usually the biggest cost for for market makers is HFT traders, and they love the retail volume. So
yeah.
Maybe to pivot a little bit into your GTM and growth strategy, given these novel features and like the novel tech of Rocket, is there any difference in how you're approaching to bootstrap liquidity and to get people onboarded? I mean, as with every DeFi and DeFi adjacent product, we still have the whole liquidity and trade participation chicken and egg problem. How are you intending to solve that?
Yeah, I mean, not hugely different to other Perp platforms. We have a point system. We had a point system running for testnet. We prioritized people that were giving us suggestions or feedback. We listened to a lot of them. Any features or tools they wanted added, we actually implemented, which is quite helpful. I guess that's our edge. We're not, if there's users that actually have viable product market fit that they want us to implement, we're open to that. So early on it's going to be point system. I think options is going to be a big thing. We're talking about some integrated, like an option grid platform is quite complicated to understand. We're talking to the fourth founder to what products can we integrate to make it easy. Think of like a Robinhood, how it kind of implements its UI on options, up, down, simplified, and that'll just plug into our order book. So that's how we're looking at it in the near term. Long term, just keep growing up the product and introducing more complex derivatives to the platform. We kind of wanted to complement each other. So Perp options, having some yield bearing assets come into play, and creating some interesting products around that.
So on a meta level, if I understand it correctly, you kind of want to take the Hyperliquid approach of building a loyal community through the combination of incentives and a good product. And then once the points program is concluded, people have an incentive to stay and to use Rocket, because by then the product will have a set of features and a set of technicalities that will give them an advantage over other perp DEXs.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
I think,
mean,
yeah.
We sort of think the crypto's had enough hype, and points programs and like focusing on extracting value from the user. We are geared towards basically being users ourselves, building something for everybody, including everyone's ideas, and just trying to make the best product and hoping that people recognize that. And the points program is just a way to reward that.
Yeah. I would agree.
On the note of the points program and testnet, maybe we can walk through your guys' platform and you can screen share a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You want me to drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Drive.
All right. That's cool. Which one was it? This one.
Yep.
Here we go. Cool. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, we have, sort of the regular sort of product. Actually, I need to maybe switch the account, but that's all right.
No, it's fine.
So yeah, slider, place a trade gets filled. You have your positions down here. You can place a limit order, and it will fill. Maybe we'll see the better price here if it fills. So yeah. And yeah, on testnet you can just claim funds. So, oh, there we go. So that order filled at, so $25 cheaper, as you can see, or $15 cheaper there. It was at 63,740 and it filled at 63,725. So if we
basically to think of that on a very high level, there was the price wicking down to 725 instead of only 740, and your block-based micro auction prevented any HFT firm, as on other CLOB DEXs, to just tap in and take that $15 difference, and instead that $15 difference was forfeited to the user.
Yeah, exactly. And the other side got a better price too, because their limit order would have been below 63,725, and we got matched in the middle.
To split the difference.
Yeah,
between
exactly. So everyone gets a better price than their limit order or what they asked for
on volatility.
Yeah. Sweet. Anything else I should mention here?
Yeah, we can show the assets.
Change the leverage.
Yeah.
These are all sort of common features of a perp DEX.
Yeah, I think what we've done, especially with our front end developer, is try to look at the best features from the top 10 exchanges, and try and implement some of the good stuff that we were seeing that we liked on those platforms. So we've tried to introduce a lot of those features into it.
Yeah. And then we've
on
also
the trading feature side, is there anything that stands out to you in particular where you think that this has so far been missing on most perp DEXs and only been present on centralized exchanges, and that you're trying to integrate?
I would say something that no one else has is like the funding rate ARBs.
Yeah, so we've introduced, this is a very, version 1 that we built out. We've taken extended as, we think they're in the middle of their hype cycle in terms of their points program. So we think it's beneficial to users to farm on both sides. and then we've introduced an order entry for both platforms. You still need to go and obviously fund your extended account and link the account using the APIs. But it's pretty seamless after that. We're going to iterate on this. It can get quite complicated between the spreads between the both exchanges, and changing some of the dynamics, so you have the best option to profit on the funding rate arb. But it's a great feature in terms of, I guess, users, earning a yield, delta neutral. It's also beneficial to us because it fills our order book, and then drives value to the exchange.
That's a pretty cool feature. Can you elaborate a bit on any missing implementations or what you want to extend, pun intended, maybe also integrating other perp DEXs when extended on the other side? Or are there any novel risks introduced compared to just having completely separate accounts and opening the long and the short there?
So there's no risks because you're still opening the trade on the extended side, and Rocket is just making the order entry, one order entry, and then instead of you having to go to both exchanges, trying to set some sort of limit price spread and then executing both.
Well, there's no added risk.
No, there's no
the risk of funding arb strategies within themselves are
still exist.
Yeah, they're still the same. Yes. I think the one sort of feature that we would like to add would be a system that detects when one leg closes out and the other doesn't. We have that upon entry, but we don't have that upon closing, because you basically would need to have your laptop open when that happens, because we're this is just a client sort of interface. And we
Can you explain the take profit and stop loss toggle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when you're doing a funding arb, you're using leverage usually to amplify your APR. And that means that one leg can get liquidated. I mean, one leg short, so it can always get liquidated. But even more so when you're using leverage. So what you should do when doing a funding arb is place identical take profit and stop losses on both sides, on both exchanges for your order, so that they should exit and you remain delta neutral at the same time.
100%. And the slider there is just doing from your entry price, what is it set at now? So it'd be 76% profit on either side of your margin. And loss.
Yeah.
Either side.
So does that already account for leverage or does it not? So would that be a 76 price move, or would that be roughly 11, 12-ish% price move, giving the leverage is sitting at 6x?
No, it's 76 price movement on your collateral. So it's really taking the leverage into account.
Okay. Could you walk us through which activities currently receive points and how to best participate in the testnet campaign?
So testnet's been live. We're actually just opened it up to everyone, so everyone can come and test the platform. Note that the funding is jinky on testnet because extended testnet does not have much liquidity in their order books. I think they've switched off their market makers.
Yeah.
They periodically switch them on. So when trading on the funding arb on testnet, you need to set limit orders. You'll have to look at their order book, and you're going to get filled at an adverse spread, but it will work. It's just not ideal. We've been testing it in beta on their actual platform, and it's seamless there.
Yeah.
So that's just a note to add. Points program. So we've been giving out to traders 500 points a week on testnet, and then we've given additional points to users that asked for unique features or unique UI tools that they wanted added. So that's kind of how we've been doing it. Beta is actually launching tomorrow. Very limited closed amount. So we're going to send out some ref codes to people we know, and a few traders that were beneficial on testnet.
Very nice. What about the vaults and the portfolio feature?
So portfolio lets you see your trading activity, your Sharpe ratio, which is always terrible for me, and volume, all your stats about everything that you've done, all your trades and everything.
Yeah, I think that is a feature that is still lacking on a ton of exchanges. I think it would make it much more user-friendly for people to actually have insight into their trading activity beyond just a exportable CSV of all their trades. I would say that for many centralized exchanges, they kind of have an incentive to not show it, to not provide too much insight, because then people would essentially figure out why they are unprofitable. But I think if an exchange really wants to be user first, having some integrations of more sophisticated P&L analytics really is a great feature to have.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good point. Maybe adding like, losses versus wins and which side of those trades, maybe depending on the assets, blue chips versus, more degenerate assets and what they're trading. I think it's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Just for people to be able to figure out what makes them more or less profitable. Like,
Yeah.
the data is on the platform already anyway. And I mean, now with AI, the analytics have become much easier. So I think that stuff like, which assets you tend to be most profitable on, whether your shorts usually lose out or longs usually lose out. Maybe even stuff like the time of day you're trading. So if people are more on the high frequency side of things, maybe during which sessions they are more profitable or less. I think just a broad set of features there is really cool for people to play around with.
Yeah. And we've discussed internally, like adding features for even research and stuff like that, let alone just more comprehensive analytics. Maybe even like adding like some small AI. I know AI is super hype sort of thing right now, but it has its like benefits. Some small AI tools that let you maybe query stuff about yourself, about how you're trading. And like as we've shown with the funding, we can integrate other exchanges directly on the platform. So maybe we could show your Hyperliquid portfolio and extended portfolio and everything connected all in one platform. So we definitely trying to innovate.
I think that would be an amazing feature set, sort of like the DeFi Llama AI, or for example, what Pendle has on their website, where you can have like an AI agent help you like navigate the platform and different opportunities. Having that for perp DEXs would be a great addition to the entire space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's something we can look into for sure.
Yeah, and then we could look at the vaults as well. If it wants to load. There we go.
So the vault currently is just our market maker at the moment. Integration. We haven't done sub vaults yet. I think we'll do that at a later stage.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this gives you more analytics. We can see all the testnet depositors. We have like I think over 600 users on testnet right now as well. So yeah, it's looking good.
Did some decent volume over the downturn in the market. And
yeah,
it's pretty profitable.
Is there going to be a counterparty vault similar to HLP, or are you trying to center the vaults mostly around a copy trading feature?
No, so there's exactly like that, like the HLP vault or the lighter vault. This is the same architecture. We've set up a market maker using the fourth founder's logic that he wants to implement, and he'll have a look at those criteria that we've set and update it as needed. Another thing to note, Kirk has been working on it, but we've fallen a bit behind, is adding, similar to extended, the vault as collateral. So giving people the option to earn a return while being able to use that as collateral for trading.
Does the counterparty vault architecture or expected returns differ in any way given block-based micro auctions versus a typical CLOB?
No, I think in terms of trading, you won't see that there's a micro auction other than the improved prices. For the user experience, it basically will feel the same.
Because unnoticeable,
yeah.
Besides the Rocket platform itself, you're also building Rocket EVM, right?
Yeah, that's, I mean, I guess that's in the future plan, post TGE. Once we, decentralize the sequences and launch the token, there'll be an EVM rollout similar to what Hyperliquid did, with, sub platforms on top of that complement the core product.
So that'll be on the Rocket chain layer.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for the Rocket chain? Are you also like, once Rocket, just the platform is live in its mainnet, will that already be hosted on Rocket chain, or what is the rough idea there?
Well, we'll have to see what works best, but maybe we can integrate some of the like successful EVM platforms directly onto the platform. Maybe we'll just link to them. You don't know exactly what the best way to go is for that just yet. We don't know what people want to build.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'd be core products like lending and borrowing, even if it just satisfies the staked Rocket token and borrowing against it. I mean, I think those are, low hanging fruit that will be launched straight away. And then, I mean, we've got ideas to, complement this current core product and whatever we develop in the next 6 to 9 months. Talking about maybe the funding arb, maybe we have an automated vault similar to liminal money, but with high leverage, or, tranches, so we can, have people different risk thresholds that users want to use, with lower to higher returns. So that's things we're talking about.
Yeah, we're also experimenting with bridging vaults on and off Rocket chain, because we offer, these, like, we're going to have options and have all these exotic instruments. There's a lot of strategies that you can build around that you can't put into a normal sort of system. So if people can build a vault that people trust, obviously, to execute the transactions, it would sort of be like an ETF, and then you can bridge that off, put it on Uniswap or whatever, and people would arb out the price. So price makes sense, and then you have exposure to a sort of complex strategy.
Would the end game be to compete with the current state of Hyper EVM, or where do you want to take it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've done a great job. A lot of the other Perp platforms have been copy paste and launch. I think Hyperliquid, especially with 11 employees, they're probably the market leader. Honestly, if we can compete in some aspect, that's a success story for us. So we're trying to follow the same kind of recipe, just adding more unique features instead of like being, one of the other 30 platforms that have just literally copied what they've done with worse UX, in my opinion. And worse execution.
Yeah, I mean, not to hate on the competition, but like, Lighter, it's sort of not like you would want them to innovate and improve, but when you go from a decentralized platform to a ZK platform, you are giving up all of the blockchain ethos of, censorship or non-censorship, access for everybody, because, like with Lighter, if a government wanted to, they could shut down Lighter tomorrow because they could just target the sequencer.
How does your sequencer work right now, and what is the path to decentralization there?
So we run a hot stuff variant, which basically means rotating sequencer. Validators receive proposals, vote. It comes back to the sequencer. QC gets formed, and then broadcast QC in the next proposal. So the difference of the Rocket consensus, we haven't really got a good name for it yet, we've just been building, is it's an optimistic sort of finality where we have 2-block finality, but 1-block optimistic with lower latency than Hyper BTF because basically it's a little bit complicated, but when Hyper sequencers propose a block, they propose the state hash of the block after completion. So that means that every validator has to process all the transactions, get the state hash, and then vote. So what we do is an optimistic version of that, where we assume deterministic execution, which if any blockchain doesn't have deterministic execution, it's going to fork anyway. So we assume that it's like a super rare chance and it's a bug in the system that needs to be fixed anyway. And we just basically propose the next transactions to be executed, Oracle, state, all that stuff. And they sign off on it. And then in parallel to voting, execute. So we pop that execution out of the pipeline. So that's our edge there. Yeah.
What's your, because you were hinting at Lighter before, what's your current view of the competitive landscape within Perp DEXs? I think it is right now as competitive as it's ever been. The market, due to the sentiment and downwards price action over the past couple of months, is not really growing in terms of TVL, in terms of user activity. So there are by now probably a dozen or 24 Perp DEXs, all which are not like completely terrible product-wise, competing over a rather limited pie. So what is the differentiator? What is the growth vertical going forward? Is it having listed different asset classes, like different RWAs, or perps on commodities, perps on FX? What's the strategy to expansion?
Yeah, so post-launch, we're going to be adding a lot of exotic instruments and stuff. I think on the market as a whole, the products are good, but not innovative, I would say. Like, which one of it was? Pacifica had the AI integration.
Pacifica, but terrible.
It's like super,
Yeah.
Again, not to hate on the competition, but I think the innovation is sort of almost like a fugazi sort of, it's just for show, I would say. I think we are genuinely trying to change the sort of meta of this market. We want to add stuff like continuous prediction markets, so you can bet on when SpaceX will IPO in a continuous way. You can bet on the date of the IPO or something like that. Bet on the price of RAM next month. We want to add crazy stuff like Bitcoin squared, or maybe NVIDIA squared, where the price of the perp follows the price squared, which gives some cool stuff like convexity of options without the pricing of the volatility. Yeah, I think we have a lot of cool stuff we're going to be adding very soon after beta goes out.
Yeah, I think listening to users as well on what they want. I mean, I think, Max, you've seen me in the DeFi dojo. Like, we're very open to, what do you want to trade? Can we implement it? What can we put on? I think that's in near term with the perp side of it and introducing the products that Kirk was saying.
Yeah, we're the only ones with uranium spot.
Yeah.
And then options is also a massively untapped, no one's really figured it out completely. So there's a few like options exchanges, but none of them have really mastered it. And I do believe with the skill set we have and the team we have,
and the market maker as well, I think that's important. I think Derive has a good product, to be fair, on the option side. I think they lack liquidity, so their pricing can be a bit all over the place.
Yeah. You could argue Derive's lack of liquidity is due to trying to put a blockchain on a CLOB sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Or I think they're a ZK, but yeah, the added latency is basically the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also during ETH Denver, like the main narrative was RWAs having tokenized metals on chain, tokenized whatever. And I do think that if there's a way with reasonable liquidity and without introducing too much new friction to just have a very easy way to get directional price exposure onto either side of all of these assets, I do think that if you are the first one and if you're the best one, that can really set you apart from other perp DEXs. I mean, Hyperliquid, there is an incentive through like the builder codes, HRP3, and now also HRP4, and a very large existing user base. So it's somewhat of a David versus Goliath competition, I would say, but it's certainly not an impossibility to find your edge and to find your niche there. At the Hyperliquid side event during ETH Denver, I would say that Hyperliquid, out of all chain ecosystems, was the only one where people were still excited for the ecosystem as an end in of itself. For most of the other things in crypto, it is just what is the feature set, what is the application, but nobody really cares about the underlying chain anymore. Nobody cares if it's on Ethereum, if it's on Base, if it's on Solana, etc. Hyperliquid is the only chain where there is kind of that ecosystem bias still very prevalent in the community. And I think anybody who has been kind of a chain maximalist in the past really missed out on a lot of opportunities. Personally, I would say that the chain loyalty is just going to decrease in the future. People will just go where it's either economically most profitable through incentives, or where there is a product that they can't find anywhere. But I do think that kind of chain cultism is really dying down, and I would say that overall this is a good thing. But I would also agree with you what you said earlier, that now that perp DEXs have been kind of solved, or at least been made into usable products, there now is a lack of innovation in their surrounding ecosystems. I mean, I would even extend that to Hyperliquid to some extent. I would say there are very good applications on there, but there is nothing that introduces something completely new that we have never seen in any other eco. I'm not sure if, that's even technically possible right now to introduce some 0 to 1 innovation, but it would certainly be cool to, besides Hyperliquid with perp DEX, also have a few applications that can only be found on their chain.
100%. And it's like, you think about Pendle as being a good example of something unique that they brought to the market. And now with Boros, like, I don't see any of that on Hyperliquid. Like, there's no innovation in that kind of product being developed. I guess our ethos would be, yes, we'll still have, the basic applications on the chain, but thinking about what complex integrations we can have, having all of this trading derivatives on our app and on our chain, and what layer, like, if you can imagine, like, another layer of complexity that simplifies, some sort of trade that uses options and perps, and even some of these exotic assets that we might introduce into some sort of strategy that you can just click into and take that exposure.
Well, 100% agree. I think, Pendle and Boros are some of my personal favorites when it comes to rate trading. I've been shilling them since, Boros wasn't talked about back then, but Pendle was back in late 2022. I still think it's one of the greatest things in DeFi ever built. But yeah, do you think that the end state of perp DEX competition will be that everyone secures very little niche, or will it distill down into an oligopoly, or maybe even a winner takes most?
I mean, I still think we're early on. I think what Hyperliquid did was prove that perps can come on chain. And that's kind of opened the door to looking at other instruments that are traded in traditional finance that can now be implemented on chain. And again, like, there's a lot of gatekeeping in traditional finance. There's a lot of, hurdles you have to pass to trade some of these assets. And we live in the reinsurance industry here in Bermuda. That's the main market. You can think of like cat bonds or ILWs that are typical reinsurance products that have decent risk and yield to users. If somehow you could bring that as on chain and create products around that could be useful as well. So thinking about that kind of stuff, I think in the next year or two, we're going to see a lot of that come on. And I think if you're at the forefront and putting that on your platform, it could be hugely beneficial to the ecosystem.
Very nice. So what is the path forward, and what can we expect next? How can people get access to the beta?
Yeah, so beta is coming online tomorrow. It's, we put low liquidity on there. We are literally testing out the basic functions, making sure everything's working as expected. So we're being very careful who we let on initially. We probably have, if you want to send out some ref codes, we can send some over to you, and maybe
Absolutely.
the DeFi dojo. But it'd be good if the users just understand the risks and trade with caution. In the near term, we're going to fix up the UI and UX and start introducing some of the advanced trading settings that haven't come quite in yet. TWAPs, maybe some grid trading, just simple things like that add a bit more complexity to traders that want to use that. And then the big thing for the next quarter is options. Options need to come online, and once that's online, we can start putting some more complex tools together. I think in the interim, while the options is coming on, Kirk and I have been discussing some of the products he listed, some of the more exotic perp trading assets. We'll slowly introduce those to people. And I think it's a bit of trial and error there. It's like, what do people want to use? Like about a month ago, uranium was going off. It's kind of cooled down to an extent now, same as gold and silver a few months before that. So it's looking what users want and then implementing it quickly. I mean, you can argue that was Binance's model in the early days, looking at trends and making it available to users in a timely manner.
Any last topics or aspects of Rocket you'd like to talk about that we haven't touched yet?
Nothing for me. You got anything? No, thanks, Max.
All good.
Great. Where can people find you? Where can people check out Rocket?
So at Twitter, it's at RCKT Foundation. You can follow us there. And then if you go to our landing page, you'll be able to find links to everything as well. Got a Discord, Twitter. And then I'm also in the DeFi dojo. If anyone wants to reach out personally, they can find me there.
I'll make sure to put the links into the description. One last question before I let you guys go. Who are 2 other guests or projects that you would personally like to see on the pod?
I think that's a good question.
Well, we want to see the Pendle and Boros guys.
Yeah, we absolutely want to see that. We were going to watch that before. I think also having, I don't know if anyone's actually interviewed them, the Extended founders. It's actually one of the Perp platforms that we think has done a really good job on UX and some of their design choices, as well as some of unique features that no other platform was doing before them. So they would be interesting to hear out. Who else in this ecosystem? That's probably it from me. When is Boros? Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. We originally had it scheduled for today, but we had to postpone it a bit. But yeah, we'll do a deep dive into both Pendle and Boros tomorrow at, I think it's 2 p.m. European time and 8 a.m. Eastern time, because the Pendle team is sitting in Singapore, so it's late evening for them.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, thanks a ton for coming on, guys. Was great having you. We'll definitely keep our audience posted on any new feature releases and updates, and yeah, make sure I'll include the links into the pod description so people can reach out.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Max.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.